He was sitting at his mother's funeral. People were crying around him. His sister, his father, even people who barely knew her. But he felt nothing. Not grief, not relief, not even the guilt of feeling nothing. Just empty, like standing inside a room where the sound has been turned off. He watched himself perform the right expressions. He said the right words. He held the right people. And later that night, he wondered if something was wrong with him, or if this was just who he had become. Someone who watches life happen without ever quite being inside it. There is a specific kind of person who lives like this. They are not broken in any obvious way. They function, they work, they show up. They are often the most reliable person in the room. But inside, there is a silence that never lifts, a flatness, a distance, a glass wall between them and everything else. They can watch a beautiful sunset and feel nothing. They can hear a song that used to destroy them and wait and feel only distance. Where the feeling used to live, there is now just space. People around them sense something. Something is off. Something is absent, like talking to someone standing behind glass. They smile when they're supposed to smile. They laugh when the room laughs. They say the right things at the right moments. But privately, they are always watching themselves from a distance, like an actor who has forgotten why they took the role. And somewhere in the quiet, they ask themselves the same question: why can't I feel anything anymore? Psychologists call this emotional numbness, but that word numbness makes it sound temporary, like something that will pass, like a foot that fell asleep and just needs a moment. For some people, it doesn't pass. It becomes the baseline, not a symptom, a state of being. Here is what actually happens. At some point, usually in childhood or adolescence, the nervous system experiences something it cannot process. Too much pain, too much chaos, too much that had no name. Maybe it was one event. Maybe it was 1,000 small ones. Maybe no one even noticed. Maybe no one was there to notice. And the brain does something extraordinary. It turns down the volume. Not just on pain, on everything. Because the brain cannot selectively numb. You cannot close the door on grief and leave joy standing in the hallway. Joy, love, excitement, grief, all of it gets quieter. All of it moves further away. All of it becomes something you observe rather than something you feel. This is not weakness. This is the nervous system protecting itself, the most intelligent thing it knows how to do. At the time, it was survival. The problem is that survival responses don't know when the danger is over. They were never designed to. The walls stay up, the volume stays low, and years later, the person stands at their mother's funeral, waiting to feel something, and concluding that something must be wrong with them, when in fact, the system is working exactly as it was built. Here is where it gets complicated. People who feel nothing are often highly perceptive. They notice everything. The shift in someone's tone, the pause before the answer, the thing that wasn't said. They just don't react, because reaction requires feeling, and feeling has been rerouted. And this creates a strange kind of loneliness. Not the loneliness of being alone, the loneliness of being present and feeling nothing about it,
of standing in a room of people who matter to you and feeling like a photograph of yourself. Some of them begin to seek intensity, extreme experiences, risk, chaos, not because they want to destroy themselves, but because intensity is the only thing that breaks through. A crisis, an accident, a fight, a moment of real danger. Suddenly something is there, briefly, a flash of being alive, and then it's gone again. Others go the opposite direction. They withdraw completely. They stop trying to feel and build a life so controlled, so quiet, that nothing can disturb the silence, because silence, at least, doesn't disappoint. But here is what almost no one tells them. The feeling didn't disappear. It went underground. It is still there, buried under years of protection, under walls that were built for good reason. People who feel nothing are often people who once felt everything, too much, too fast, too young, before they had the language for it, before anyone taught them what to do with it. The numbness was never the problem. It was the solution, the only one available at the time. And somewhere beneath all that silence, beneath the flatness and the distance and the glass, something is still waiting, still intact, still real, to be reached. If this was about you, you are not broken. You are not empty. You are not someone who lost the ability to feel. You are protected. And protection, no matter how long it has lasted, no matter how thick the walls have grown, can be laid down when you're ready. And maybe, just maybe, something in you already is. There is something else worth saying. People who live inside this numbness often become exceptional at reading others, because when you cannot feel your own world, you start studying everyone else's. You learn to map emotions from the outside, to recognize them in faces, in posture, in the way someone holds a glass. You become a student of feeling, precisely because you can no longer access your own. And there is a painful irony in this. The person who understands human emotion most clearly is often the person who feels it least directly. They can sit with someone in grief and know exactly what to say. They can sense when a room has shifted before anyone else notices. They can hold space for someone else's pain, while their own remains locked behind a door they stopped trying to open years ago. This is not a gift, it is a compensation, the mind finding another way to stay connected to the world when the direct path has been closed off. And sometimes, in those moments of sitting with someone else's pain, something stirs. Not their own feeling exactly, more like a memory of feeling, a ghost of what used to be there. And for a moment, just a moment, the glass thins, and they are almost inside the world again. Almost.